is because I give no fucks. And it's so hard to explain that sometimes because people think it means you don't care about things. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean I don't care about things. It means I don't care about the things you think I'm supposed to care about. Coin the phrase now, yo. Like, we are in a San Diego art renaissance. The only things that benefit you are the things that give you and feed you growth.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the KDigitals podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined by Fade Green. How are you doing today, man?
Great, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, just staying busy.
I bet, man. Same here, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So, Fade, can I call you Fade? What's like the right way to call Fade Green, Fade?
Yo, I think both of those work. Fade
sure.
and Fade Green, perfect, fine.
Let's do it. So the way I kick off every podcast, I always ask the guests to kind of define themselves as an artist, right? So I might say you're a rapper, but do you define yourself as that? Are you an MC? Are you just a musician? How do you like to define yourself?
Good question. So I like to define myself as an entertainer first. And because I like to entertain, it allows me to branch out into other facets of entertainment. Rapping just happens to be one of them that I am pretty good at, but I love all forms of entertainment, truly. I went to auditions when I was younger and wanted to act, and I still want to act. Still have plans to do so as well. And I've definitely written poems since I've been young, before I made music at all. You know, music came later, adding the instrumentation came later. And then I realized with music, it allowed me to act and entertain and my poetry all at once on stage to my own fruition. So then I started to dive into that a little bit more, but I would still consider myself an entertainer above all.
Yeah, no, I feel that, right? I think we were talking about like, oh, I'm a photographer, but like, when you take a step back, you're more than just that, right? There's a
exactly.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Speaking of acting, I'm just going to kind of dive into something very specific. So in the video Marionette, right, for the song, you're obviously like in the wheelchair and all that.
Yes.
Are you also one of the doctors?
Yes, I am. I am the doctor taking myself into, yeah, most definitely. And it's like a little bit of a flip on the duality there, like trapping myself within myself, but it's also like battling your own demons and realizing whether or not those own demons are just a reflection of you or not, you know, and either you're getting your truth revealed to you by you or the truth is you. And there's a cool duality between that, because the choice is yours between whether or not you choose to accept or deny. And then like that's how I like when you listen to the song again, that's like kind of how the hook plays out, and me playing out like the story I'm telling throughout Marionette about like where I think like, you know, I should be with my art and whatnot.
For sure. That's cool, man. See, so that's why I'm stressed out too. It's like there are times where I start acting my own way. I'm like, is that me or is that something else? And that's just me thinking that way. And I start tripping, right? And you're like,
yes,
it's stressful.
Exactly.
So when you wrote the song, then were you writing it with the intention of that theme, or like how does that process work for you?
Good question. The producer that created that track, actually, shout out to Cake Knife, crazy amazing DJ and producer. Check him out, definitely. His music is amazing. He created that beat for me, and the name of the beat was Marionette. And a lot of the times when I'm working with a producer and I have the name of the track that they created, my brain just likes to work from that base ground. I typically don't change the name of the beat that I get from a producer most of the time. I like to leave it there and I create something encompassing around that with an idea that I just have and expand upon it. So Marionette was already the name of that track. And then I just decided to incorporate that as the theme for what I wrote about. So that's part one. And the second thing is when I started writing the hook for that too, you know, I was trying to create, I always love creating like kind of like a double entendre per se, like for my hooks. And I was like, how can I incorporate Marionette into this and write something about like what a marionette is, you know, and like what is a marionette, but like, you know, someone puppeteering and like controlling something around them. But like, what if like, you know, those same things were like the those problems that you have, you know? So like in the hook, I'm like, I got these demons you see, and they're all in my head. They're released by the steam I produce in my lead. And that basically means, you know, either like a gun essentially, because like the steam from like the lead when like the trigger is pulled, or like the pencil obviously from when I'm writing with my art, you know. It's like this, yeah, the steam that I produce in my lead. You see the strings from the schemes, and now you're caught in my web. Now how's it feel to be a puppet in my marionette? And then it says the strings from the schemes, and it basically means like me webbing together the thought processes that I have in my head rather, to plot out like my plan and path for success. But the only thing that's really pushing me to do so are all of these issues that I have, you know, like these facts that I have, these demons, are the things that are actually even pushing me to do those things. So it's funny that it's like either sometimes I feel like I'm controlling the facets of the things around me, but the reality is sometimes those things that are bothering me are the things controlling me to do the things that I'm doing in the first place. And that's a bigger flip on all of it as well too. So that's kind of what led me to write that main hook, and then everything else kind of just branched out from that. So my mindset came, because typically I don't always write in that order, like at all. And a lot of the times, a lot of my verses come freehand without an instrumental at all, you know, and I'll just write verses off rip, like anywhere, like, you know what I mean? And for a long period of time, I wrote all my verses in my head too. So like, I didn't really care to write things down. I would just remember them because it was easier that way. And I'd had more time to write stuff down because I was at work a lot of the times. I couldn't have my phone, couldn't have paper to write, but I'd want to write. So I just started to remember verses in my head and stuff. And it was a lot easier to do that for me. And then that helped me grow as well as an artist, I feel, because it forced me to think for long terms about lyrics in different ways that I think people didn't always do so. So it helps me write in different orders, you know? So like Marionette, that's just one way that I wrote a song, you know. I happened to write like the hook first based off that title, that branched out into a theme, that then went to the verses, that I then constructed into a video concept, you know. So like sometimes it works in a reverse order from that, you know. I might even have like a cool like just song title and a video idea, you know, and then I'll start writing backwards from there, you know what I mean? But it really all depends. But for Marionette, that's definitely, I think, like where my head was at that time too. I was kind of like, you know, starting to grind super heavy with my manager. Shout out to Fino. So like that's definitely also what pushed me to like put that song out like that.
Dope, man. So then is my name is that a freestyle that like you just kind of keep out of your head, or did you write that down? Like how did
My name is, I actually did write down as well, yes. Yeah, and it came from like a freestyle session in the studio that I was kicking it with, and basically was like, we're gonna write this. And I wrote down a lot of stuff just from listening to M, like, you know, way back. But I was like, I want to definitely go on a beat that Eminem has done before, man, and like at least pay homage in some sort of way to one of them. And I want to do that for a lot of the artists that I've like listened to over the years. But that was one of the first ones that I ended up attacking, and ended up going really well. So I sat down and wrote to it and came up with that, shot the video, and it was a little bit ago now, and I only just recently uploaded it to my Instagram and my TikTok, you know, and you know, the rest is history from there. But I definitely didn't freestyle that one off the top though.
Yeah. So when it comes to like the writing part, right? I feel like lyrics pretty straightforward, but like in my name is like you have different voices and different like paces for those voices. So like I feel like a whole nother layer of creating. How do you decide, okay, I'm gonna do this voice here and I'm gonna change it up here? Like how that part sounds more complex.
That's a good question. So for me, inflection is key. And I think that comes from the actor and entertainer in me. And remember, the entertainer is the whole umbrella, but the acting side of me is what helps that rapping side of me entertain more on stage. And part of that is because I like to write really well. And when I write, I'm super big on structure. Syllable count's a huge thing for me. And rhyming at a certain point in time is a huge thing for me. So you'll often see I have a very specific pattern to most flow switches, and most flow organization. So my words often land at a certain point in time on like for a reason at a certain point in time, which also helps me with inflection, because when I know things are going to be a certain way, I know I can inflect a certain way. And to be honest, I don't notice I'm doing it a lot of the time. Like most people just tell me, and I've noticed it now after coming across more individuals like yourself saying like, yo man, like this is dope that you do this. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, and I go rewatch it and I'm just like how long have I been doing this? You know, I'm just like, dang. So like, and I started watching myself a little bit more after that. Originally, I didn't really watch myself at all. And I still kind of don't, but like now I'm like studying myself a little bit more and realizing I'm like, oh, okay. You know, because I want to also become a better teacher. And behind that, I will say that the inflection comes with also knowing and understanding your own breath control. I use that to my advantage too. Sometimes like when I know I have a certain amount of breath in a certain area in a verse, I actually inflect a certain way a lot of the times because it helps to project that. And if you're like a lot of like if you're running out of breath, going on a more of a monotone voice like this a lot of the times will help you sustain whatever you're saying for a longer period. Or if you're running out of breath right at the end of something and you're really out of breath, you can go to a really high inflection depending on what you're saying, and it'll actually finish out the word instead, and you can project forward. And like I've learned things like that over time from like just rhyming, and I think just from doing and putting so many words into like compact verses, you know. So like I think I've like taught myself over time how to like what I call like percussive rap, where you're basically like you have a lot of like hard consonants, you know, where you're like you know, it's almost like you're beatboxing while you're rapping. And when you do that, you kind of have to have a good level of breath control, and learning a good level of breath control leads to better inflections. And I think that's also, it's like a domino effect. But you gotta kind of have to learn each of them and master each of them to get to that point to where you don't have to think about it anymore, I guess, because I didn't realize that I was doing it that much. But I definitely have practiced so much when I was younger, teaching myself different techniques and stuff that I think that I've like done so much that I don't have to do anymore. They're just kind of engraved in me, you know, that like now other people have seen it when I was just doing that stuff by myself. I saw it, you know, when I was practicing, but now that I don't have to practice anymore, everyone else sees it. So it's like I have to remember that like, yeah, there were things that I taught myself, you know, in order to get here.
Oh, that's cool. That's also humbling too. But yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, because there's times like,
thank you.
The photos stuff I'll do, like I'll do a small thing, like after like I forgot that I used to actually actively think about doing that, and now it's just
right, like, exactly.
Yeah, so that's cool. So is like the whole breath control and all that, like, is that like, do you find it's different when you're in the studio recording and then like when you're like live doing it, or even like freestyling for a video?
So that's another great question. I'm super big. Not every artist is like this. Not every engineer is like this, but engineers sometimes like they love me and they hate me when I'm in the studio because I'm very meticulous and I know how to engineer too. So like I'll talk their ear off. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're the masters, and they're the masters at it. And I'm the little protege over here, like you know, and they're just like, bro, stop. But most of the time, it's because like, when I go to record, I don't even go to record in the studio yet unless I know I can say my whole verse straight out in one take. I don't like to record unless I can do my verse fully, because I want to be able to record and perform it the same way I recorded it. So whether or not I record it chopped up or not, I'm not going to record it in the studio unless I know I can do it all in one take, because I want to be able to perform every single song I create. So for me, it's a big thing to, no matter what, be on par. So there's really not that big of a difference for me in the studio to performing. The only real difference I will say is the fact that like when you're performing on stage, you're moving and you're active, and you obviously have to have a higher level of endurance and stamina, and recognize that and know that you're not just going to be standing still, or unless you do stand still, I don't know, that's your performance. You can do how we can perform however you want to perform and it'll be great. But for me, I know that I'm very mobile and I move around a lot. So there is a bit of a difference in terms of how I have to plan out when I do perform. But most of the time, let's say live, and versus a studio, I'm gonna be doing it the same exact way. And a little bit of way to practice for that too is exercise, of course, but don't just exercise. Rap your songs while you do it, because you'll learn how to build up that endurance and that stamina. Do some push-ups and rap a verse, you know what I mean? And or run, a little bit and rap your verse while you run. And that, to me, that was the best thing, going on runs and then just rapping my whole song. Like, not only would it make me run longer because I'd be motivating myself without even knowing it, but I was working on breath control, I was building up my stamina, I was getting some exercise in, and most of the time I'd run outside, so I was getting some good sunlight too. Those moments would put me not only in a great mood, but it would like increase like my artistic creativity and my level of like my endurance and confidence on stage too, by tenfold. Like every time I did it, you know what I mean? It would increase it by a lot. And I think that's another thing that I would encourage a lot of artists to do. And no matter what genre you do it, go for a jog outside, sing, put your some headphones on or something like that, or bring a little speaker with you, put your song on and just sing with it, because you got to be your own biggest and worst critic at all times, because that's what most people and artists are, but you also have to be your own biggest fan too. So when you're doing that means you also have to be your own biggest sensei like in the end, because that's a critic and a fan is a teacher, you know what I mean? So like in the end, you have to be able to do that for yourself, and that's a good way to teach yourself, is to, one, you get some confidence being outside, you'll run and you'll build up that endurance, that stamina, and you'll get your songs down. So there's so many things you can do just by doing that one little exercise right there. So different things like that I think help as well, by closing that gap that might be for doing a studio session and performing on stage, because that's the ultimate goal. You want people to hear your song recorded and hear you on stage and be like, that sounds fucking the same, that's great. Like, and most of the time we as artists, we fear that it's not going to be like that, which leads to backing tracks and heavier back vocals or lip syncing, which is fine. You can do that for you. But if you want to improve, there are exercises and things that you can do in order to do that, so you don't have to, And I feel like I'm a perfect example of that, because I wasn't doing this right out the gate. I just practiced a lot, and I just wrote a lot, and then I did things that helped build up those things over time. And when I remember that, oh yeah, this can be taught, and this is a skill that can be given to people, so that it can increase their knowledge and their level of creativity as an artist. Because I feel like some of us are held back just because we think we can't sing, say, or repeat certain things, but we totally can.
So when you're live, do you have a backing track playing? Like, not just like the
just not the instrumental.
Yeah, like the actual vocals.
I have a certain structure to the way I do mine. Okay. And for me, so for me, some songs will just have just the beat, just depends on the type of song. Yeah. Some songs, if it's like a full song with like a hook, a chorus, and like a bridge and all that stuff too, all my main vocals are out. But sometimes I leave the main vocals in the hook, so it can be sung with like the crowd and everything. But like my verses, my main vocals are out. I just leave my ad libs in sometimes, or my backup vocals down a little bit, but like not my actual main vocals. I'm usually, I'm always the one saying my main vocals. And also because if I hear myself like really loud, it'll just mess me up on stage. So I don't want my vocals anyway, in my song. Like my ad libs are cool because I perform and I put specific ad libs and stuff in certain places to help me entertain. But in terms of like my main vocals, I want that to be coming from me, because that also helps me entertain. It's distracting if I have other vocals on my track. I don't want that. I don't want you hearing anything other than what you think is coming directly from right in front of you, Otherwise, then you're gonna get distracted. Things are gonna get muddy. It's gonna get a lot harder to stay on track with what I'm doing. So I definitely would shy away from having any extra other main vocals with you while you're performing.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah. So when it's like all the actual like verses, that's like you. That's raw version of you, just like.
Right. Exactly.
That's dope. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's fun to dive deep, and I appreciate you just like sharing all that.
No, thank you, man. Thank you for the good questions.
Yeah. Well, so let's hard left of it, right? Let's do that. So we were talking about like style, and like I do all that. How'd you get 100K followers on TikTok?
I only chuckle because I don't think my answers changed every time someone asks me that, but it's just timing, I feel, for me. And I will say I probably, at the flip of a coin, it was like a luck of the draw. TikTok has a certain algorithm that it works with where they plug you on the For You page, depending on like the time that you post, but then also depending on within the certain amount of time, your first few engagements within the context of either your tags or those who you're already following. So it'll be people that like are people that have already clicked on posts related to the posts that you have your tags on. And then people that are already engaged with posts like yours, that your followers that are like followers like yours. That's how you'll get put. Those are the people that will see you on the For You page, right? So when it does happen like that, the next thing it's going to look at is level of engagement and length of engagement. So like, how long were those first few people sitting there on that video? Mm-hmm. If those first few people were sitting there on, and I think just recently they've increased like they increased their time. I think they decreased their time that it counts as a stream, but I think they may have increased something else. But essentially, let's say it takes like about 9 seconds to 12 seconds or so, depending on the length of the video, for it to count as something worth TikTok pushing forward in its algorithm, right? So let's just say it's the threshold is 9 seconds, but my average view time on my video was 24 seconds, right? Right. So I beat the threshold now by about over 250%, right? So TikTok says, oh crap, all right, cool, like people really, really like seeing this. Let's push it out to more people, like the people that viewed this video for 24 seconds. Okay. So let's see if anybody else views the video for a higher amount of seconds than the other people that weren't. So now you have people that were sticking around for maybe, a lower amount of people that were sticking around for like 12 or so seconds are now sticking around for like 16, 18 seconds. You know what I mean? And TikTok sees that like, okay, it did boost it. Let's push it out to more people. Oh crap, now it's getting more likes, because we pushed it out to more people similar to the people that are sticking around on the video. Now it's getting more comments and stuff too, because it's pushing out to more people that are also engaging with videos like this type of video as well too. So now that it's learned that point in the algorithm, now it's just like up to how many people are on at that time, right? How long is the TikTok algorithm going to push you, or how strong of a push are you going to get forward based on that, how quick that level of engagement was, and how long each of those viewers actually stayed on your video. So the higher number of people that you got to stay on your video for a longer amount of time helps that algorithm push it forward to people like those viewers, which helps you increase your engagement, like comments and likes, which helps the algorithm further send it out to more people who like videos like that video, which also it would base it upon like your hashtags and shit, but also like the people already following you, right? So for me, the curve just went like this and shot up really quickly because of that rhythm, right? So I got lucky, a sense. I won't say I got lucky. I say that people enjoyed my video enough, rather, for them to stick around long enough for me to get that boost, for me to get that high curvature. So then I got sent out to a bunch of different people who all were sticking around long enough. And by that point, enough people were following me, I feel like, you know what I mean? And then enough people were commenting on the My Name Is video and whatnot, that it increased the level of engagement. It's things in the entertainment world, for all of us in the artistic world, it's all about community, Like, so I loved, the fact that I was able to comment and talk with so many people as well. Like on the video, for me, like, it was mad love, man. I still appreciate all of that. And like, it's just, it's really cool to see. So I feel like that's a big part of it too, is knowing that, like, yeah, you are getting engagement, but engage back as well, and do that as well. Not only will it help you, but you can also learn who's following you and learn your fans and see who's around and who's going to stick around. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a part of it as well too. So all of that helps. And hopefully that answered the question and that helped out a little bit too, but it's definitely all about timing. But that's also a breakdown of how you can check and see how you are faring in the algorithm, and check your analytics. You know what I mean? Check your timing, see when you're your videos for you are doing best within your locality. Because if you don't get pushed heavily, TikTok has like 3 different ways that it counts the way your videos get viewed, right? So it has like your followers, it has the for you, and it has personal. So you can send it to people or share it, or you have followers that are already going to see it and then send it to people and share it. And then you have TikTok's own algorithm that's going to try and help you out as much until it sees that you're not worth helping out at that point in time, because it wants to push its algorithm in other areas or use other videos of your page, because what it'll do is bounce to another video on your page and try pushing that one too. And everyone on depending on the profile you have, your profile has different videos trending at different times, and you can check it in your analytics. So I would recommend people on most any platforms, artists and entrepreneurs that are using social media as a way to branch out, check your analytics, because your analytics are going to help you guide you when the platform's not helping you, you know. Not every video is going to go viral for you. Not every video is going to get that same algorithm boost, but every video has a personal amount of followers, or a personal amount of people it can be sent to, and a follower account, and those people it can be sent to. And then even if the For You page doesn't push heavily, you're still going to get pushed around in locality based, because TikTok's also based on where you are locally. So as long as you can see what time you're thriving best at, it might be 1 p.m., it might be 5 p.m., it might be 2 a.m., you know, who knows? Test it out, see when the post works best for you, stick to that rhythm a little bit until you figure out something else that, you know, pushes forward. And then from there, just try to carry the momentum.
So when you put like the hashtag San Diego rapper in your videos, is that kind of why? Like, are you trying to add a little bit of flavor?
Yes and no. So
okay.
that yes, that was eye grabbing, right? But I also just wanted people to know like where I'm from. For me, it's a big thing about like putting San Diego on, you know, and uplifting San Diego. And I love my city and my home, and I want people to know that we have talent here and artists here, and I want to help shine a spotlight on all of the people that I know here. And that's why I didn't put, you know, Fade Green. Yeah, I put San Diego rapper, because I'm just one of the many people out here that I think are fire. You know what I mean? You know, so I just feel like people should be looking for San Diego rappers, because we have mad people out here that are dope. And I felt like that would also be a way to catch the eyes of people who might not have seen me. And I hadn't really dived in on that platform. That was like my 4th post, I think, that at that time on that TikTok profile.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you know, and I only had just made my profile a week and a half before that.
Yeah.
So I was just like, all right, cool. Like at that point in time, like now that I'm like on this profile, let me try to also reach people that I haven't reached on this profile that might be in San Diego that I don't know how to reach currently on this not this profile, this platform as well. And because I haven't really been on TikTok, don't really know anyone on TikTok, don't have a way to reach out. That's also a way to reach out to people in San Diego. What better than put hashtag San Diego rapper as well, you know? So it was a way to network. It was a way to reach out. It was a way to shine a spotlight in San Diego. And it was a way to put something eye-catching as well on my video, you know, so people can see a separation from me with other people before they scroll past, even if they don't hear a word yet.
For sure. I'm taking a break too. Dope. Dope, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
dude, of course.
You just mentioned like you're trying to like shine light on San Diego more and all that. So in your song The Collective, right, you mentioned like, oh, he's from Diego and all that, but he has an LA flow. So what does that mean? What's an LA flow?
So for me, and the funny thing is I can kind of tell when people from down here like rap and they're from LA, and I can tell when you rap and you're from Dago. Whether it's like you do 90s boom bap rap, whether it's like gangster rap, whether it's like West Coast rap, there's just kind of like a different style to it. But then also it was a reference to that for sure. But then it was also a reference to the fact that most people, when you think of like hip hop in the West Coast, you're like LA. You're like, oh, you rap, like you probably like live out in LA, or you probably do shows, you're probably looking to go to LA. Literally, that's what everybody, especially outside of California, thinks. So, and especially traveling to LA, you know, when I met the person I did that song with there, we at Mission Underground Los Angeles, the team backpack competition. And I definitely felt that vibe, you know, that like because there were a ton of people out of there that weren't from LA, but a lot of people there were just from LA, you know what I mean? And some of us came from outside of there, but the vibe was like, you know, if you were from like California, you were probably from LA too. And I was like, man, that's not it? But it's because a lot of people at that point in time, you know, also hadn't experienced the the entrepreneurial and artistic boom that had been cultivating currently in San Diego. And that's now like reached the threshold where I think a lot of people have taken notice. There's a lot of people that have come from outside the city and a lot of people that have come from LA that have cited the fact that they come down to San Diego specifically to do things now, which is super great for us. Yeah, you know, so yeah, so we're definitely growing and thriving, and the spotlight is growing. You know, it's not where we wanted and needed to be yet, but we're getting it there, man. And to be honest, it's crazy. We've grown a lot within the last like 5 years, so I'm super proud of this city. But I think that when I say that, I mean like, you know, people outside of here don't expect San Diego to be the ones that have all the crazy fire and talent. They're like, it's probably from LA, and I'm like, nah, it's me and a bunch of Dago cats, you know.
I don't know if it was at the start or before we started. You mentioned like San Diego's having this like renaissance in art, and it's like blowing up now. I was like, what's going on in San Diego?
Man, dude, so many things are going on in San Diego all the time, man. So many shows and underground shows. San Diego has a strong community, art, entrepreneurial and art community on Instagram for sure. That's where I run my business, Pure Art Entertainment, most of the time through, besides email. And it's where I've grown a lot myself, and a lot of my followers as well on Instagram are basically just based out of here in San Diego, and businesses that I've worked with. And we've worked with so many different venues here and worked with so many different artists. And like I tell everybody, man, like coin the phrase now, yo, like we are in a San Diego art renaissance, and we have been and been growing. And I've noticed it since I've been pushing strong with my business with Fino, and since 2016 with Pure Art Entertainment. Shout out to my crew. Mm-hmm. And we've been throwing events, man, all over the city, dude. We've been throwing open mic events and festival events and underground EDM events, as well as taking part in events, as well as all over San Diego, from Balboa to Logan to Lincoln to Mira Mesa to downtown, you know, to Pacific Beach. We're throwing events everywhere, and people are participating everywhere. We have so many visual art vendors taking part of it. We have a bunch of different culinary chefs and entrepreneurs with their own businesses, restaurant businesses coming through and vending. We have people that make their own jewelry, do their own tattoos and henna. We have people that sell clothes and art and merch, and as well as having singers, rock bands. We have people that do hip hop and EDM. We have fire spinners all around here. We have people that do so many ranges of art and entrepreneurial work, and that are working for themselves and see themselves growing, and all are working together within a community. And that's what it takes to create the path that will change the city, and also uplift everybody here and get us to a point where people see us as an artistic, cultural background city, as just like they do like LA, or just like they do like, you know, Houston, or just like they do like the Bronx, or just like they do Detroit, or all these other places that they look at that have had musical influences for a long point in time. But we have more than just a musical influence. We have a whole artistical renaissance happening here. And I feel like it's insane to think about it and fathom it outside of the city, and think about the growth happening inside the city. But when you're in it and you're a part of it and you're living it, you can see so much growth and potential, and how many entrepreneurs and people are working right now and doing something for themselves. And when that happens, it changes. The whole city will change, because the flow of the economic revenue is going to change, just because the socioeconomic standard is going to change, because people are going to start valuing those solo entrepreneurs over the big corporate business. And that's what you need for an artistic city to thrive. And that's what you need for the people who live in the city to thrive as well. And then we can see a shift in how the way things work here a little bit. And then it won't be so surprising, you know what I mean? And then that line that I said, you know, will be irrelevant at that point in time, because people are going to know, like, yo, San Diego's popping. Like, San Diego's got the best food, it's got the best singers, it's got the best actors, it's got the best cinematographers, it's got the best photographers, it's got everything you need. You know, you can go and get on a podcast interview or a show, you can get recorded, you can go record at the best studios and engineers down here. Literally, I've done some of the best things that I know that will impact me for the rest of my life here in the city. So it's like, to me, it's a no-brainer to stick around and watch it bloom and thrive into what I know it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. So do you plan on leaving San Diego ever? Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to LA to be like an LA artist.
I've said that, like in my most recent single, I have a line where I kind of reference that, because I went so long, like, you know, teaching and showing and growing and expressing and waiting for certain aspects to change and things around me that weren't moving as fast as I would like. And but then I was also recommended to expand my horizons outside of the city. So not just LA, but I want to go to be seen in so many different places and explore the world and learn more as a human and an individual, and then also meet more humans and individuals, and then also shine more spotlights in San Diego outside the city for people who never travel here but might finally meet somebody that will make them travel here, and then they can meet everybody else when they come here too. Because that's a big thing for me. I want to also take my business, Pure Art Entertainment, our company that throws events, and throw events in other places too. And most of the time, you know, it starts with, you know, step one, going in there, meeting the people, performing myself, and then, you know, bringing an event in there and showing, you know, what San Diego can do, and bringing other artists to the other cities that I go to as well. So that's a main facet for me. So it's definitely a no-brainer to explore anyway, because I want to bring a ton of artists. You know, I want to bring a ton of vendors, chefs. Like, I want to bring different podcasts to do interviews, and artists to perform on, like, ultimate goal, like a live tour, like around, you know, maybe like the West Coast one time. Like, I feel like that would be dope, and have, like, you know, to bring like the San Diego art renaissance to you, essentially, you know. And that's definitely a long-term goal that I have in mind, but that also includes, you know, leaving the city anyway. So growth, I think growth includes expansion, but it doesn't mean that, like, I'm going to remove this as my home base, because this is my home and this is my base. This is where my platform I've been building is, you know, currently located and will always be located.
Yeah, for sure. So Pure Entertainment, that you said that's like an event hosting, like it's more.
Yeah, so I started Pure Art Entertainment a long time ago, and I started building it up within the last like 6 years or so, since 2015, when I met my best friend and manager, Pinyo, who also helps run the company with me. And since 2016, we've been pushing pretty heavy after we met that year. And we have a couple other people included with us too, a few other people actually. And we are an event hosting company, but we also, like, we help to curate and we host our own events and venues, but we also help book for venues as well, also book for artists, you know. So we love to provide like agency to help increase the platform building and the networking opportunities for artists and venues, as well as work with local smaller venues and do promotion for them as well. So we do more than just throw events. We also work on doing promotions and film, and like doing commercials and stuff like that for other businesses and venues, as well as taking pictures and doing promotional material like that for them as well. But we throw events in all types of venues, and we do all types of events as well. The last event that we just had was a 420 event at the Ugly Dog in the members only lounge in La Mesa, in College area. And that event was super successful. Our first show back since our first traditional show back since things have been shut down. We actually had a 2-day festival New Year's event that we just threw, but that was our first show back inside of a venue as well, because our festival show was an outdoor camping event, and it was pretty cool as well. So it was super successful. It was really fun, man, and it included some comedians in the beginning of the event, and then some artists that performed in the later half, and then we had some vendors around there, a bunch of dank food. Shout out to Vegan Urbano, dude. He had these like crunch wraps that he made, super dank, super cool. And yeah, man, so we love to just put on for local entrepreneurs and artists, and then local vendors and venues, and basically ourselves, and bring everything together and put on events so that we can have this art renaissance that we're talking about here, so that we can include all these hundreds to thousands of individuals that I've met now, that all are including themselves in some sort of art or creative fashion. And I feel like it's a great time to thrive, you know, and there's so many of us, and there's so much room for all of us. So I feel like it's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
FKO and Bonfire, is that part of Pure Entertainment? Like, is that like,
Right. Yes. And so FKO Productions is a part of our promotional production side, where we do pictures and we'll do promotional videos as well. And we have a gallery and a backlog of stuff filled up that we were waiting to put on our site once it's up. But we're probably going to end up just filling it up everything on our social media page as well anyway. But FKO, we do the filming side of things there too, as well as some photography. And then the Bonfire is the name of one of our festival events that we had. So the Bonfire is an event that we had that just passed over New Year's. We had it from a 2-day festival from New Year's Eve to New Year's Day with the Eden Art Garden. And it was out over in Boulevard, California, about 50 minutes east of here in San Diego. And it was great. It was a super fun time. We had some fire spinners there, a bunch of performers come out. We ran from about 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. the first day, and started back up 8 a.m. the second day to about 4 p.m. and ended then. And we had a bunch of artists come out. It was super successful. We set the whole area up. It was a ancient Kumeyaay campground and land where we were at with a giant oak grove sanctuary with a bunch of trees, and basically an awesome, beautiful campground that we were blessed to be able to spend time on and, you know, come together as artists and individuals and have a bunch of people from San Diego be able to spend some time and perform in a time period where, you know, a lot of places and things weren't allowing anyone to come together, but we had a safe event. You know, we kept within regulations and space, and we were all outdoors, and everybody brought their camping equipment and gear, and it was a dope time, man. So things like that also motivate me to move forward, not only with music and entertainment, but with throwing events and entertainment and making sure that there are always things for other artists and entrepreneurs to do to thrive. You know what I mean? Because it's cool to hear that other people are successful from the things that we do. And I feel like that to me is a big motivation.
Yeah, it really does sound like you're like really big on like kind of just being like an experienced creator, right? For like everyone involved in the process.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
For sure. I know I'm nearing time, so I want to try to, can I ask 2 more questions? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, go for it, man.
Sure. I know I've been asking a lot. That's why. So to bring it back a bit, where did the name Fade Green come from?
It's a great question, man. So a lot of the times when the way I like to explain this now too, right? We come up with names that we create for things all of the times, whether that be for ourselves, as artists, whether that be for objects, whether that be nicknames for friends, whether that be names for songs or creative works or projects or paintings, right? And all of these things that we create, whether they have a meaning or a purpose at one point, tend to grow and expand and change over time. And I'm no different, and my name is no different from one of those. The original origin of my name comes from a creation of me and my homeboy who started music with me, who kind of encouraged me to make music in the beginning. He called himself Kush and I called myself Fade, and we were fading Kush essentially. And I didn't smoke, you know what I mean? But all my homies were stoners. So I was just like, all right, well, I was like, I've drank before. So I was like, I'll call myself Fade. And I was like, he's just like, yeah, and you're always freaking fighting. And I was just like, all right, man, I'll call myself Fade. I was like, it works. I was like, it works. Yeah. And so as I grew with that, right, like not many people knew me as that until just very recently, but it's always been my musical name, you know? So it's only even just recently come to the forefront that that's been my name in terms of how long that I've been doing that, because I created that name back when I was 15, you know? And people have only known really me in San Diego recently since the last 5 years, you know? So like, I'm 29 now. That's about 10 years of me having that name, you know what I mean? Of me growing and expanding with it into what you know who is Fade Green today. And Green, by the way, is just my last name. Yeah. So who is Fade Green today? And the name Fade now at this point in time, as I've grown and expanded who I am as a person and realized who I was, who I wasn't, and who I've had to unbecome and become again, it's realized that that's kind of what my name actually means too. It's more about the dissonance of humanity and the becoming and unbecoming of oneself, you know, and the duality of living and trying to impress upon who you are as a person to the world and who you are as a person to yourself. And for me, that's what my name means now. So basically, you're always fading in and out of who you are. And to me, that also encompasses the aspect of like how tough it is to be an artist and an entertainer and an entrepreneur too, because you have to be your own motivator and your backbone in that as well. So at this point, my name is definitely expanded upon what I originally created it for, but I encourage all of us as artists to never sit stagnant on one definition or connotation of what we believe something is, because that'll leave us with a low perception of life, you know. So
for sure. I was wondering if it was like, oh, maybe it's like a faded tattoo look or something. That's epic. More exciting. That's dope, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Yo, man, well, then to wrap it up, the one last question I want to ask is, you know, you've been doing this for a long time. We talked about algorithms. We talked about styles. We talked about entertainment. Isn't it? Like, oh, my God, there's a lot more to you, right, than maybe just, like, the rapping part. That said, if I'm a new artist that's like, hey, I'm just trying to start something. How do I become a better artist? What's a piece of advice you could give to them? I feel like there's so many different ways you can take that.
Most definitely, man. Are you able to curse on your show? On your podcast?
Oh, dude, yeah, go for it.
Oh, for sure. I would say give no fucks. You have to, your first thing you have to learn is, people ask me all the time, like, how do I do this? What leads you to doing this? What made you do this? And like, or how do you keep doing this? And like, most of the time I lead with is because I give no fucks. And it's so hard to explain that sometimes, because people think it means you don't care about things. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean I don't care about things. It means I don't care about the things you think I'm supposed to care about. And what that helps me do is it helps me do whatever the fuck I want to do. And when I want to do whatever the fuck I want to do, it helps me be a better artist, because I don't shy away from doing the things I need to do to make me better. I don't shy away from being my own worst critic, or even taking the critique from other people. Because even when you don't want to accept it, in the end, sometimes it's hard. But even when it's hard, if you don't give a fuck, in the end, it's not going to affect you. Who cares? You're still going to do what you want to do anyway. You know what I mean? So you as an artist, for the growth, learn to grow and accept things, but also learn not to give a fuck in the end when it doesn't benefit you. You know, the only things that benefit you are the things that give you and feed you growth, you know? So feed into those things, you know, stop caring about what other people think. Stop even caring about what you think about yourself, and just do the things to make yourself better. Because in the end, you're going to become a better artist when you care less about how you look or how you feel or what it seems like to other people, and how you are and how you will feel and where you're going to be 3 months, 3 years from now, because you've worked so hard on your craft and you focused on what you wanted to do for you without caring about what anybody else was doing. That's the best first level of advice that I can give anybody.
That's cool, man. I like that line in the beginning where you're like, you got to stop. It's not that I don't give a fuck about nothing. It's I don't care about the stuff you think I'm supposed to care about. It's like, exactly. That's a good way. That's cool. I like that. That's a good way to think of it. Cool, man. This is a fun interview. Like I said, I know you told
Appreciate it, man. This is great.
I was like, I'm probably gonna ask you like 500 questions.
Come on, man. This was amazing. You could have gone on forever, bro. Yeah. You asked some amazing questions, dude. And I guess I'd love to talk. So
it's all good, man. Like listen, there's times where I guess I'll probably have like my questions written, but then like I'll ask one question and that makes me think of something, and and it's like you just run down this rabbit hole. I was like, ask you one of the 10 questions. That was yeah.
Perfect.
Good. For sure, man. Where can people follow you? Where can people listen to your music? How can they find you?
Oh man, I would love for everybody to follow me on all social media platforms at Fade Green, FADE, and green like the color, SD, Fade Green SD. You can find me on all platforms at Fade Green SD. You can find me also at Pure Art ENT, so PUREARTENT. That's where you'll find me on YouTube with all my music videos, and that's where you'll find me and my crew and our business on platforms like social media. Social media, Instagram and Facebook. But we don't have a TikTok for that one or a Twitter for that one yet, but you can still find me everywhere else. And my music, Fade Green, space in between, not one word, Fade space Green. Please search me up that way. Because I had a lot of people recently being like, I can't find you, but they were searching me up with like just Fade Green with no space in the middle. so nothing was popping up. But yeah, space in between, guys, and I'll pop up. I promise. You can find me on Apple Music, Amazon, Google, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube Music, everywhere.
Dope. I appreciate that, man. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording and let everyone go.
Awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.